We haven't had a new Lightspeed bundle come out in a while. I bet I finally have time to shave my beard and make a master comparison list of all the Lightspeed bundles that have come out so far. Welcome back to the class, everyone. As you all just saw, we have multiple new Lightspeed bundles coming to Galaxy of Heroes, the majority of which will be out today, with one in particular coming out on April 1st. And I will say, whenever these usually come out in batches, they have a tendency to have some good ones and some bad ones. And I think overall, this is a really good batch. Pun intended. So here they are in their famous format that we always put them in. If you are new to one of our Lightspeed bundle value breakdowns, basically one of the things that I like to do is I like to look at all the Kyrotech that you would get if you were to have all of these characters at, say, Gear 1 and immediately taken up to R5 like the pack will do, and then sort that into its crystal value by assuming you were buying crystal vaults and buying them out of shipments. I then do a very similar process with signal data. The reason why I like doing this is because it takes the two major bottlenecks for most people to help us find a true cost associated with them, or true cost value associated with them, rather than taking every single gear piece imaginable that may or may not be a bottleneck for you. So these numbers could be a little bit different for you depending on what your needs are, especially with Gear 12 and there being a pretty prominent factor. But as I said towards the beginning of the video, one of the things you will notice is that here on the far right hand side is that most of these packs are going to be 15, 16, 18 times better than it would be if you were to just go and buy all those materials that we just mentioned out of shipments, which is actually pretty significant. When we jump over to my master spreadsheet that I still have yet to make a video on everything that is in here, I actually did check the average for all of those numbers that we've seen for every previous pack, and it is 14 currently without what we're, I guess, be calling the bad good batch that is currently here, which means that all of these are above average. The only one that can be really considered below average is probably the second sister ship, because that's going to highly depend on how far along you are with her conquest ship. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into each and every one of these. The first pack that I want to talk about is the Bad Batch pack. And the biggest thing is the fact that it contains 2,000 Kairos, which, for what it's worth, we have seen this once before with Inquisitors, but ouch, that is a significant amount. And even if you're not buying those ship wins, which most people probably aren't, that is going to take forever to free-to-play farm, or even farm through deals that pop up once a week. So consolidating that all, we can essentially assign that a $350 overall value, combined with the signal data that you get for taking them all to Relic 5, which, by the way, is kind of a big deal, because that's where 4 out of the 5 of them are required for Lord Vader. And he's always been kind of the harder GL to get because of how many relics he requires. So completely knocking out Bad Batch, relics, and Kyrotech combined is great. And then you get Omega for free, which is kind of nice. That is the old Omega, by the way, not the newer Fugitive one. The pack does cost $30, which is on the higher end, but still, for all the value you're getting from it, it still ends up being 15 times better than shipments, which is about where we want to be at a minimum. The next pack is going to be the Cup pack. And for those of you who have not seen this, CG right now, well, not right now, on April 1st, is going to be offering our Lord and Savior, Coruscant Underworld Police, for $5. You can have him Relic 9. And I do want to say, this is a hilarious way to monetize April 1st. And credit to them for knowing their community a little bit, that he is our meme character. That's what he is. It is funny though, because people who really are devout Cup fans, to kind of have bragging rights and say they spent, way more than $5, they're gonna have to leave them at Relic 8. But at any rate, there really isn't any value there, other than the fact that it's hilarious. The one thing that I will say, and we'll probably go over this more once we go over the considerations, is Cup actually is required at Relic 9 for, I believe, one platoon in Phase 6 of wrote. So maybe you don't have to do them, but it's still kind of nice that this is happening right now, because as long as one person in your guild, again, assuming I counted right, that's actually kind of nice, just to knock that out, $5, not have to spend and I've never had to do this math before, but the $65 worth of signal data, because that's 10,000 crystals of signal data to take any character, so Cup included, all the way up to Relic 9. That's a bit insane. Oh, also, we've never had a $5 Lightspeed bundle before, so, I mean, it'd be cool if we could see more of them. We probably won't, and if we do, it'll be like Clone Wars Chewbacca, but I mean, I guess it's not 10. I guess that's one nice thing. Next up, I want to talk about the 2 different Rogue One packs, and there is something to consider. There are actually a few things to consider when it comes to both of these packs, and the first thing is, it's a little bit hard to view these as 2 different packs. So I'm not showing the actual packs on screen, but what you get for the first Rogue One are these 5 following characters at Relic 5, which is great. You either want them to be a part of a particular team, like Adrad or Mon Mothma, or even Saw with Luthen. And then you have the Admiral Raddus team down here, the Admiral Raddus, the Rogue One 2 pack, with him, Biston, Baze, Chirrut, and Bodhi. And while most of them, except Bodhi, are all pretty usable, you kind of have to get both if you want to be able to fill out your teams. Like, the Admiral Raddus team is not Admiral Raddus, Biston, Baze, Chirrut, and Bodhi. The Admiral Raddus team is Jyn, K2SO, Cassian, +1, most of the time at least. So that is one thing to kind of consider going into this. There is a mixture of them that are needed for the profundity, so that is something to take into consideration. And overall, I would say that the better value pack overall is going to be the top Rogue One 1 pack that contains Jyn, purely because all 5 characters are going to hold more value, or hold value in general at Relic 5, because you can actually use them in the various squads that we just listed. Whereas Adrad, I mean, it's a small percentage, but 1/5 of the pack, Bodhi Rook, is essentially just useless. I mean, you can throw him in a Mon Mothma team or a Saw team because he doesn't break synergy due to his tags, but still, like, he's literally the pilot for a ship that doesn't exist, and if that doesn't characterize his existence in the game perfectly, I don't know what does. But at any rate, getting back to the overall numbers and the analysis, both those packs end up with an overall pretty good value. Again, the Rogue One 1 pack having about 18 times better value, despite the fact that you do get more Chirotech because Adrad is in the other one. You do not get him at Relic 9, so there will have to be more work done for both of these packs if you are wanting to go after profundity. That really shouldn't be seen as that much of a negative, because Relic 5 is still getting you a big chunk of the way there, and also removing the shard barrier and everything like that. Now, last and maybe least, maybe not actually, is going to be Second Sister. And now the big kicker with Second Sister is if you do get this pack for $14.99, you are not just going to get Second Sister, you are going to get the TIE Interceptor. Now, the TIE Interceptor isn't as game-changing as, say, just putting the Marauder in with Negotiator. You can't just put in the TIE Interceptor in with Empire and immediately have magical things happen. You typically need some of the other newer ships like Scythe and or Defender, along with the characters that go with them. But the current way to be able to get TIE Interceptor, or the current primary method, it's Proving Grounds. And that's awful. Not only, have I heard, does it have one of the harder missions out there, but even if you have it 3-starred and you're all ready to go, it's going to take you months and months and months to farm it. And even if you are spending crystals to be able to refresh it, it's going to be wildly expensive. So one of the things that I've done, and I did this when we analyzed both the Cat as well as the Dad Bod Boba pack, is I inflated the numbers pretty significantly here. We ran the math last time, but if you were to refresh the Proving Ground nodes to the point where you could essentially have the Conquest character in one day, which, by the way, you can't actually do because there is a limit. But if you were to do that, it would cost you $231 in crystals, meaning that the pack overall has about a 6 times better value if you already have that ship completely finished. But if you do not have that ship finished at all, and it's just finishing it off for you, and you would never have to refresh that for crystals, it actually has a 21 times value, because this is the math you're doing with, 320 divided by 15, you get to about 21 times better. If we remove the conquest value here, and we focus pretty much on second sister and the fact that she is relic 5 with a bunch of chirotech. I mean, it's a pretty much a $90 pack being charged for $15. So hopefully that makes sense. And for the vast majority of people, it's probably not going to be exactly 6 times better or 21 times better. You probably have a few shards of interceptor lying around that at any rate you can use. So it's probably somewhere around 10 or 15, depending on how far you are into that. So overall, I honestly like them all. Again, I feel like we've had maybe not loser Lightspeed bundles, but we've had ones that were worse than others, especially when stacked up against each other. All of these are pretty much doing what they're supposed to do in their own right. Again, the cup one is a total meme, but at the same time, $5 for a Relic 9 platoon. I mean, your guild would probably love that if you did that for them. So overall, some final considerations. The Bad Batch pack, one of the things that I do like about it is once you go ahead and do that, you can just farm the Marauder, their ship, on the fleet node that he comes on. You don't have to do any extra chirotechs. You don't have to apply any extra Zetas. If you do that, you will just get the Marauder with all of these characters at Relic 5. Again, you have to farm the Marauder. And then you can throw it in Negotiator, and then Negotiator can actually start to compete with all of the current endgame fleets, which is a really big deal. Like, this is, we made the comparison with TIE Interceptor 4. TIE Interceptor doesn't just magically transform the Empire, he helps. Marauder magically transforms Galactic Republic. The squad suddenly goes from beating the bottom 3 fleets to having a chance at 2 of the top 3. So overall, that is definitely something to consider, especially if you already have Marauder finished. The other considerations here, we might have already talked about this. Yeah, the $5 platoon for our good friend Cup. One other thing that probably is notable if you were considering one or both of the Road 1 packs, not just the fact that you kind of need both of them to be able to get the team to function or to go after Profundity, but it is a fairly low Zeta team. And I realize this is becoming more and more relevant, especially when we have people buying not 1 or 2 Lightspeed bundles here or there, but buying 5 or 6 or 7 in total. And because the team really only needs, you do need both of Admiral Radis's, and you're really going to want Jin's that allows all of her team to become immune to buff immunity, and then she herself is immune to stun. But after that, you can throw K2 in the team without a Zeta. Like, you can live without the 1% protection recovery. Cassian does not need his Zeta. I still don't have it, which that should kind of tell you where it is. And then whatever 5th you're using, whether it be SRP or Biston, they typically don't even have a Zeta. So it's a 3 Zeta team. So not as low as it can be, like, say, Geonosians, but still very much on the lower side of things. So again, something to consider, especially for those of you who are trying to spend as little as possible Zeta-wise. And then, yeah, we also did talk about Bodhi and the fact that that pack does inherently have less value. But again, if you're getting both of them, you're still getting to Profundity, you're still getting the Rogue One squad. We could just exclude him and then maybe take this down from 16 to something else. And then again, the Conquest ship is a pretty big deal for Second Sister. The ship itself isn't useless, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to get if you are not going to go this route, but it is possible. So that is going to be our overall analysis. Again, I think this is a pretty good batch overall. If you can only get 1 or 2 of them, I probably would suggest going after Bad Batch first and then the Rogue One second, just because there is some easier accessibility there. But until then, thank you guys all for watching, and stay awesome.